Hello and welcome to the show. 3 more vehicles are going to be taking on the Wreckoning, seeing how far they can survive around this highly destructive test track. Up first, we've got another police car. The Burnside is yet to have a go around this track, and we'll be having fun with the emergency vehicles, and they've actually been doing rather well. So the Burnside police car shall have a try. I will be honest. This car is a relatively old vehicle, not too terrible in terms of power, is quite heavy. Terrible gearbox, terrible automatic, and that is something that we're going to have to live with, and we're going to have to hope we'll getting the right gear vaguely at the right time. Otherwise, we could be in a little bit of bother. The suspension is very much of the wobble-matic kind, although that can be helpful. That little bit more give can be helpful in terms of surviving some of these jumps. Now, try and get the gearbox into maybe the right frame of mind. Be a little bit careful here, because we're going to need all of the speed that the police Burnside has to offer if we're going to clear the jump, and indeed we do on the first time of asking. Fantastic. Now we are going to be taking a little bit of a wider line around here. This is all about focusing on getting as faster a run up towards this next jump as we can, because the Burnside is only just making it, and that's fine for now. But the car is going to take damage, and this is what we have seen. Cars that are only just making it on the first and second lap, maybe, are going to start getting into trouble if when it's inevitable. You're going to start taking damage around this course, and then you lose a mile an hour or two. That's when you have a really big impact. Now, if anything can survive big impacts for any length of time, the Burnside is one of those cars. We're going to have to be very careful here. This is one of the big problem areas. We're taking as wide a line as I can, kind of fling the car down the hill. This is just all about get straight line speed. Come on, Burnside, fly through the air nicely. Not really nicely enough there. I mean, not really any major damage done aside from the radiator. That was quite an anticlimactic crash as far as crashes go. I mean, the car's now going to be overheating. It will overheat. It will go out at some point. I don't know how fast the engine in this is going to go up. I think the problem we might see with this potentially is that I'm having to drive it very hard, although the gearbox isn't, being an automatic gearbox, it isn't going to let me over rev it. We made it across the pit perfectly, which is good, and we're going to bounce our way. It's actually a very good condition. We've seen cars die at this part. Ooh. Okay, that maybe not quite such good condition there. That was a big hit, actually. That was a really... The rocks have caused more issues these last couple of episodes than we've seen at all in the previous ones. Most cars have just glided across them, no problem. But that has caused some issue to the front right. Again, it's not major. It's not actually... It's collapsed the suspension a little bit, but we're not being pulled around horribly. It's not bent the steering. As I was saying before we got caught by the rock, yeah, with the automatic gearbox, I'm not being allowed to, rev the nuts off the car to try and get it going. Try to get some speed out of it and so on. So that will help the... Thank you, game, for that one. That will help the engine in terms of the overheating, but it doesn't help it in terms of the performance and trying to get speed to get across jumps and that sort of thing. We might potentially see some issues with this car now that we've started taking damage. Now we're going to try the same thing again. We're going to try the same thing again that we did last time. We're going to take it a little bit easy over this first bump here. There's also no point going too fast. We've got such bouncy suspension to just launch you into the water if you aren't careful. Use all of the speed. Don't lose any power. Oh, we got some oversteer at the very bad moment there. Having said all of that, we are across. We are across fine. Oh, that front right is not looking healthy. It looks like it's just gradually getting lower and lower, which isn't good in terms of survivability. Across the next jump we go. Oh, we are just making this. The engine is in the orange. It's not going to be long for this world. I fear what we're probably going to have happen. The car will lose power fractionally before it overheats fully, and when it does that... That is probably when we'll have a big crash, especially, looking at the position we are now with the corners we have coming up. If we lose power coming towards this big jump, we are going to have a tremendous accident. And if you can survive all the way around to the water, you might just be able to get a little bit of a breather. Oh, I've not taken that. I was trying a slightly different line to see if I could get some extra speed up. Oh no, we've just lost speed going up the hill. Big time. Big impact on the chassis for the Burnside. It has got away with it. Only just, mind. We are still moving, though. Interestingly, while the coolant is overheating and the engine is unhappy, it hasn't actually given up as of yet. We haven't got, you know, head gasket damage. I shouldn't speak too soon, of course. I know that's coming. We know that we're going to be seeing that sort of thing. Probably not long. Can we make it to the river? If we get it to the river, can we cool it down any through there? There goes the oil overheating. There goes the head gasket damage. Oh, it's across the pit. That's a really heavy impact on the front of the car. That's a big, big impact there. Oh, it's going to be impact across the next part of it. Car, breathe, take a drink, cool down, please. I don't know if there's going to be enough. Piston rings are gone. I think it's too far gone for that to really help any. It's going to go further than the Blazer, though. It is going to go further than that D-Series. Can it limp its way around onto a third lap? It would be quite impressive if it could. It would be great to see it if it could just make it there. The con rod bearings are gone. It's seizing. It's dead. It's gone. It's going to coast its way along underneath the bridge. It is not going to make a third lap in the end. That is going to be it for the Burnside. Damn. I mean, it took some very, very big hits, so you can see what happened to that front right wheel. That front right wheel is, yeah, not in a happy way in any way, shape or form, but it stayed on and we still had steering till the very end. We still had steering all of that time, and it was overheating that got it in the end. I have no doubt that something else would have got it pretty quickly with the state of this car. The way that the steering is acting, the way that we've got so much camber and just such a buckled wheel, we are not really able to carry the speed we need over the jumps. I think we were quite lucky to have not snapped the drive shaft in a couple of the earlier places, but it's a solid enough performance to almost limp its way around on to a third lap. Up next, we have got the Malloch. Yes, the tiny little rear-engined car is going to have a go around this course. Interestingly, there is now a convertible version, so naturally we've got to have a go. I fear for this car. I fear for the kind of structural rigidity of the vehicle. I don't really know how Beam fares when it comes to convertibles and that sort of thing, but well, strength within, you know, the car, the body structure is quite important around here. Also, this car is very, very tiny, and the bumps and potholes and jumps are humongous. I mean, we're asking a crazy, crazy amount of this little car. Ugh. It's got some okay speed about it. This Cabaret version has got the sport engine inside the car, which is not too shabby in terms of getting the power down. In fact, that's a lot faster than I was expecting it to be across that first jump. I mean, the driver's seat looks a little bit uncomfortable with the juddering around, but we've made it cleanly. All good so far. Oh, we got a big oversteer moment, but it's going to be okay. Again, we're going to make it across the next jump. Now, if we can keep this up, then things are looking pretty good. I did actually notice in the kind of patch notes, the change notes for the updates to this mod, the engine, I think, can fall out the back, like the entire rear can get into all sorts of damage. So, if we have a car go out because it lost the engine, I'm perfectly okay with that. That would be a hell of a way to go for the Malloch. If anything is likely to happen to, well, the Barstow can't survive long enough to have the entire front subframe fall off, so it might be that this is the only car that sort of thing can happen to. Oh, this has got a good turn of speed, and it is actually going just fast enough. Oh. I think we might have buckled something quite significant in the rear. I think something in the rear axle may have just decided a no on that one. I'm guessing something like tied the wheels together, or I don't quite know. Something's very, very, very uncomfortable in the rear seats at the moment, and then something has gone very, very snap. Oh, that's a shame. It's a shame for the Malloch. That was actually looking pretty good up until that particular moment. But this is the severity of the bumps around here. Just a hugely, hugely damaging bumps, and things can go wrong. Things can go wrong for a car like this, and that is, yeah, going to be the Malloch out. And unfortunately, it's going to be in last place. Well, to finish off for today, we have gone back to, well, older American cars. The Delta 88 is going to have a try around this course. I've gone for a cab, because I actually haven't, as far as I'm aware, haven't driven a taxi variant of anything around here in the past. Now, we have got what's, I don't know what S1 is in this. We have actually got options to get this into a manual mode. Brilliant. Now, we haven't got a crazy high-powered variant of this one. I'm hoping, though, that it is going to be fast enough. That is always the concern, unless you go for, the crazy 700-800 horsepower cars. Now, we're going to try and make sure we get this slowed down. I mean, they kind of bobble their way across there. We are going to, I think, be just about quick enough to make it, or maybe not. Oh, slower than the Burnside. Oh, we've got heavy damage to that rear left. That is big damage on the rear of the car. Now, still perfectly drivable at this stage. We are going to have to try, we're going to have to make the most of every run-up, every approach to these jumps. Oh, God, we've got rear axle issues. I thought we just bent the other way. We've got a lot of positive camber on the left. I thought we were about to get a lot of negative camber on the right. That was not the case. I've also just seen the temperature gauge has shot up immediately. As soon as the radiator goes in this, I think it is going to overheat. Well, rapidly, shall we say, considering that's at half temperature already. That's a concern, and also a surprise. This isn't exactly a crazy power variant. I mean, I am having to drive it very hard, and this is the problem we saw with the Delta 88 when I went for the crash test version at the Baja Rama circuit. I was expecting this cab version to be faster. It isn't. Well, I say it isn't. I think it is faster than the crash test car, but not by quite as much. For a second, I thought there was some fire coming in the front. It wasn't. It's just the way the sunlight was reflecting and kind of shining off of the dashboard. Let's hope the radiator failure we've just had is only a minor one. If it's a big radiator failure, yeah, this will go in no time at all. We have not got anywhere near enough speed here. That's a horrendous impact. If the radiator wasn't dead already, that would certainly have finished it off. But we have gone further than the Malak. Can we get across the river? Yes, we can. I mean, we've gone further than the K-Series. We've gone further than the Celica as we bounce and wobble our way across there. Okay, it's a little bit on the uncomfortable side. If I do remember correctly, one of the Deltas had issues with the temperature gauge. I might not pay any attention to the temperature gauge, come to think of it, because one of them did have issues with it not quite displaying correctly, or displaying in a peculiar manner. We're going to wobble and try and not do that. I could have really done without that afflicting the car. Can we get it turned around? Yes, indeed we can. It's actually driving, considering the level of damage we have got on this car, it is driving remarkably well. It is pulling a little bit to the right, as you might expect, but it could have been an awful lot worse. Could have been an awful lot worse, considering the angle of those rear wheels. Now, while I am trying to hug the inside there to keep myself out of trouble, I've got to be very careful with not clipping the very solid concrete barriers. That will do no end of damage to my car. Yeah, the issue I've got with this is I've got to keep it in first if I want to get anywhere near enough speed up to clear these jumps. But I do that, we're literally going to buzz the limiter the entire way around the course. Come on, Delta. How on earth is this thing still going? We're landing so heavily on the chassis, pretty much constantly. Oh no, the temperature gauge is raising. Okay, maybe it was the Regency or something. Yeah, the temperature is going up very quickly. Coolant is overheating. Now, different cars, have different amounts of time they can run before we get a failure. To have got this far on a second lap is still not bad going. We've got to cross the horrendous death jump that has claimed so many victims. And remember, we're in a car here that really doesn't have the speed. this Delta 88 is not particularly... This might be one of the slower cars to have made it past that death jump, and that is again because of the strength in here. The chassis is hurting big time. Chassis is at terrible wonky angles. I don't really have the steering to try anything fancy in terms of lines around there. If we don't die on this jump, I think the engine's about to expire. So, oh, drive shaft's gone. I knew that one was coming. We just lost all power as we approached the jump. All of the power evacuated the car, and I'm now trying to be a little bit sneaky and make the most of the hills here, just to roll it that tad further. I think it might actually roll further than the hopper. Oh, me trying to be clever there has... the engine's gone as well. Yeah, we weren't really making those jumps very well when the car was in pristine condition. And take out a large portion, take out the power, and what little power there was, drop it down with the head gaskets, pistons all damaged. It was, what, 35 miles an hour approaching that jump. You're never going to make that one. Not particularly surprised to see the drive shaft go out in this car. The state of the chassis is quite impressive. It was driving pretty well up and for the level of damage up until the, well, drive shaft related death. But yeah, the taxi, perhaps not the strongest option in terms of trying to survive around this track. On to our, well, results leaderboard. I apologise. The normal map that I have, the file got corrupted and it's all kind of died. And with preparation for Goodwood, I haven't had the time to be able to fix it. Don't worry, it will be repaired, hopefully in a couple of episodes' time. But yeah, for now, we have to make do with a leaderboard. The Burnside goes to 11th place. It does actually pretty well, considering the complete and utter lack of speed from that car. 11th is, yeah, not too bad going at all. We've seen a lot of slow cars have a lot of cars that, when damaged, aren't quick enough to make the jumps, fail. Especially on lap 2, on that big jump. And the Burnside didn't. It clawed its way to 11th. The Delta 88, a very similar story with that. Those two cars, so incredibly strong that even with the big impacts over the jumps, it took a number of times before the cars would finally die. So yeah, impressive showing from both of them. And then we have the Malloch at the bottom, with the rear axle pretty much giving up in that car. Otherwise, it was doing quite well. Up until that point, it was actually looking quite good. It had enough speed to make across the jumps and things were going fine. I guess I clipped it at the wrong angle. Too much speed, too much force, and perhaps weakened by earlier jumps. And whenever whatever it was snapped in that, that was definitely game over. That, though, is going to be it for this video. As ever, I shall link all of the mods used in the description, so you can download them, have a go with them yourself. But thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.